Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome to the Dave Shields Fitness Friday 5 podcast. I believe this week is week 6. So we're cracking on with these podcasts, and I do appreciate you listening in, my one listener. This week I've got 5 favourites of mine for you for the Friday 5, and before that, I just wanted to just say a little bit about my week and how I've been feeling this week, because I have been feeling, I can't lie, a little bit flat, a little bit down, and dare I say it, a little bit mildly depressed. Now, last weekend I went to the Kendal Mountain Film Festival, and that was, it was good because I met up with some old friends, some people I'd not actually met for a couple of years since I was last there, so it was nice for that. So that side of it was good. However, I felt deflated because the whole point of this year of going to Kendal was to do the run, to do the 10k, and it was supposed to be rounding off my year. And the fact that I got injured and couldn't do the run, it left a really sort of sour, sort of depressive taste in my mouth. The fact that I'd gone over there and I supported my mates doing it, and they still did it, and they did a good job. The weather was absolutely filthy. It was raining and muddy and stuff. But I would have done it, and I just felt really, quite down on myself for not doing it. So I've been in quite a contemplative mood this week. So I was reading a few things, and I come across this passage in a book, and it was about being grateful. And I've been doing a bit of work on that. If you've noticed my social media feeds on Facebook particular, I've been doing a bit of work on being grateful and gratefulness. And this person had done some research into the chances of you actually being alive, the chances of you being born. And they're so astronomical, but he tried to make it as so that you could understand it in some way, that the enormity of this number. And I'm just going to explain it to you now. So the way he explained it was, you have 2 million people, and each of those 2 million people has a dice, and each of those dice has a trillion sides. So a trillion-sided dice, if you could ever imagine that. And then there's 2 million people all roll their dice together, and each number on the dice is the same. That the odds. So that is the odds that all the numbers on the dice are the same number, and that is the odds that you'll actually be born. And it does kind of make you think, how absolutely lucky we are. But we should be walking around every day going, oh my God, this is brilliant, I'm alive, can't believe it, but we don't, do we? We just take it for granted. And I think it was something like that really, really hit home, that regardless of what's going on in life, that we are so lucky to actually even be alive. So I started to dig into some of the reasons why maybe that we're not so happy. And I think a lot of it's because, even more so now, is that we're living so much in our heads that we almost create an alternate reality to what's actually going on in life. We make up our own story, if you like, in our heads. Now, I think we've always done this. Everyone lives in their heads. But I think more recently we're becoming more detached from actual reality. So with social media, we can portray a certain image of ourselves, and that then becomes our reality. But the problem is that it's not. And it's kind of detaching us from that. And I think, only this morning I was walking my 2 kids to school, and there was a bit of a standoff in the high street with cars coming one way, and there was a bus trying to come down the high street, and this car just wouldn't give way. And it was just it just sort of hit home to me that we're so kind of ingrained in our own little world that we can't hardly see what's going on around us, and we all think that we're all right and we're all entitled. But actually, that to make the world work, we do have to have a bit of give and take. So I thought, what can we do to try and get out of this? What can I do? And something that I was thinking about was be getting out the thing about, I think, what the real world is, I think reality is the earth and the sun coming up every day and setting on the night time, the birds singing, trees growing, trees outside, the weather, the wind, the rain. To me, that's reality. In my mind, that is what reality is. It's the actual the stuff going on around us, and the reality also is that we are a part of that. At the end of the day, we're just a collection of atoms that are kind of shoved together, along with everything else. We're made up of the things that make up the earth. We're nothing special. We're made up of water and elements from the earth, and that's what we are. So we however much we try to hide that and run away from that, that is just a fact. You can't escape that. So I think spending some time outside, connecting with nature, it sounds a bit cheesy, that does, but and by connecting, I just mean by going outside and taking in, the elements, the sounds, the feelings, all that kind of good stuff, that you could actually become a bit more grounded. And that's why some of the practices that I've done in the outdoors in the past with groups of people is, to walk barefoot outside in a stream, just feel more connected to the earth and to the elements around us. And that, if you're listening to this now, it sounds really alien, that, it sounds, oh, why would you do that? We like to insulate ourselves from that, pretend we're not part of nature, we're in this fight with nature, it's not, we are part of that, we are in it, whether we like it or not. So maybe a bit of acceptance on that side of things. The other thing I think that we can do, and is a bit of a problem, is connecting with other people. Now, I think other people around you, they would give you some kind of perspective on your life and how you're getting on, if you kind of see what I mean. They will give you some feedback, I guess, is trying to what I'm saying. And it's not a formal feedback, but in the words that they say, in the way that you act, they could maybe keep you on the even keel, and I think we all do that subconsciously with people. So if you're not got any friends, you've not got anyone on there around you, then you've got no one to keep you on this keel. So you keep thinking the same thing that you've been thinking of, that your life is revolving around you, and that's all there is. So connecting with other people, I think is a good thing, and having being part of a community, is really good. And I think that's why things like parkrun work so well, because you're part of a community, you're connecting with others, you're getting outside. It's this kind of double whammy, and I think that's what I've been thinking. And as part of that, I'm going to try and start getting back to parkrun. I've not been to a parkrun for a good few weeks, just because of my foot, and it's starting to heal a bit better now. So I might see if I can get out and start on the parkrun and try and dig myself out of this bit of a rut and a bit of I say depression, that's too strong a word. Especially leading up to Christmas, I want to be on top form for my family. I don't want to be moping around feeling sorry for myself when it comes to Christmas. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I don't want to be negative. I'm trying to remain positive and dig myself out of this bit of a rut. So hopefully you might have got a bit of value from my ramblings. I'm going to move on now to the 5 recommendations for this week. So as always, I'm going to start with exercise of the week, and that is going to be a row this week, a banded row. It's just a straightforward bent over row, and it is good for the back and your biceps, for your arms. So a bit of an upper body one this week. Okay, so working on the upper body. I've gone for a banded one because it's a bit more accessible. I think with many rows, you do need resistance, and you can use rings, and you can pull up on the bar. But I think the easiest thing is to have bands, and then you can do a bent over row and pull the band. So you bend at the hips, and you sort of go back as far as you go forward. As far as you can, without straining your back or your legs. and then you're using your back muscles to pull up the band from the floor. You can stand on the band and pull up from the floor. It's quite hard to describe. What I'm going to do is just put a link in the description to a video which will better show the exercise. Now, if you're starting with a light band, I would just go straight forward on 10 repetitions, 3 sets of 10 on this one. And the thing that to really feel it in your back, you've got to squeeze your shoulder blades together at the back, at the top of the movement, and really feel it in the back. Okay, that's the exercise of the week, the banded bent over row. What I've been listening to this week. This week I've been listening to, trying to cheer myself up a bit, I guess, the Geraint Thomas Cycling Club podcast. Now, okay, a little bit niche this one. If you're slightly at all into your cycling, then this is a great podcast, because he's quite a funny guy, is Geraint Thomas, and he tells it how it is, and I quite like that. There's no guarded kind of he talks about his own situation and his teammates in Ineos, and he has Luke Rowe on, who's his best mate, who's another cyclist, and they mull over kind of their life in the peloton and their training and all that kind of stuff. But it's quite light-hearted. So even if you're not really into cycling, it does make for a good listen. They also have other cycling guests on as well that talk about their training, and it can be quite motivational and funny as well. So that's the Geraint Thomas Cycling Club is my pick of the week for podcasts. Now, what I've been reading this week is it's kind of become a bit of a classic since it was published, and it's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. You might have heard of this, because anyone who's talking about developing habits and changing the life and changing the way you do things, then James Clear always comes up. And Atomic Habits is a way to strategies, if you like, real strategies that you can action that are going to help you to build up habits, to make changes real changes in your life that you want to make, whatever they are and whatever goals that you have. And I think particularly relevant for health and fitness as well. Things like habit stacking, if you pick one habit, and if you do that every day, then add another habit to that. So if you make a cup of coffee, something I've been doing this week is, I make a cup of coffee in the morning and I boil the kettle, and that's a habit. And while I'm boiling the kettle now, I found I can do like 50 kettlebell swings. So while the kettle's boiling, which is my habit, my second habit is to do the swings. So and that's how I've been keeping up with doing my 100 swings a day, was starting off with 50 with the boiling of the kettle, and then while my coffee is brewing, I do another 50, and that's my 100 done. So that's a classic habit stacking that's helping me to fit something in to my day where I thought maybe I wouldn't have time to do it. So I wouldn't be doing anything else while the kettle was boiling anyway, probably just sat there scrolling social media. So yeah, so that's James Clear, Atomic Habits. If you just take a few nuggets there, it could supercharge your development there. So have a look out for that one, Atomic Habits by James Clear. Again, I'll put a link in the description of the podcast, and you can look that up. So my nutrition tip of the week, if you've had a go at going carb free, and you think that carbs are the answer, cutting out carbs are the answer to your weight loss, then I want to sort of give you a little well, I'll say a tip. It's like a strategy really for cycling your carbs. So it's about having carbs in your diet, but only when you are training or doing some quite heavy physical activity. It's something I've done in the past, and the reason why I do it is because I do enjoy my carbs, and I went carb free for a while a few years ago, and I lost loads of weight and it was great, but I couldn't sustain it. I love bread, I love pasta, I love my baked potatoes and all the good stuff. I love all that. So I couldn't ever do without having carbs, full stop. However, what I was finding, if I was eating a lot of carbs on days where I wasn't training and I had a light activity day, I'd find that I'd be going over on my calories, just because I tend to overeat carbs and my calories go up. So there's no magic in cutting out carbs. It's all to do with calories. So on days that I was not training, or had a light activity day, then I would cut down on my carbs, which ultimately would cut down on my calories. So I wouldn't have any bread for lunch. Just have a chicken salad for lunch, and I'd cut out my carbs at tea time as well. I'd just have vegetables and meat. And then the next day, if I was doing some training, then I would add carbs into my diet. I'd have oats for breakfast. I would have a sandwich at lunchtime, and I would have a baked potato with my meal on an evening, or a bit of pasta. So, and that kind of worked for me. And it's just about, it's about energy balance at the end of the day. But it's allowing to, dare I say it, have your cake and eat it? Are we allowed to say that? Can you do that? Well, I'm saying it anyway. So have your cake and eat it. Have a go at carb cycling. So on days when you're doing more activity, you're going out for a run, a swim, a cycle, have carbs on that day, just in moderation. And then on days when you're not, you're having a recovery day, then try not having carbs. And this is only really applicable if you're on a weight loss strategy, if you want to lose weight. So otherwise, I don't think carbs really, they're energy for your body. So I'd never demonize carbs. So that's carb cycling. Try that when you are training. Right, finally then, my thought for the week, and this is kind of linked to my story from the start of the podcast about me being a bit depressed, if you like. And the phrase this week, the quote is, "The journey is the destination." And again, I love this. It's like an old, one of those Confucius says, like a Chinese proverb, and it's about enjoying the process of what you're doing and reaching the goal. That you're trying to get somewhere, and you do all the planning and all the work, and that's where all the magic happens, in the planning, in the work. That's the magic, not the actual destination. If you think this in a couple of different ways, so if you think of it in terms of your goal setting, so you want to get to a certain point, and then you get to that point, that's like, oh right, okay. But the actual getting there, the struggles, that's the thing. That's where all the learning takes place. That's where the inverted commas, the joy is. And in a figurative way, that I remember listening to a podcast, and they were saying about some research that had been done into people who are planning a big trip, and they they plan it for a year, and they do all their research and all that kind of good stuff, and then they go on the trip, and they actually got more fulfillment and enjoyment from the planning of the trip than the trip was a bit of a letdown at the end of the day. So, and that that's I can see that as well, because I've planned climbing trips, and I've enjoyed climbing trips, don't get me wrong, but I've enjoyed the planning of them, get the organisation of them all, and that's where all the fun is. And I think for me this is relevant, because I was thinking about my run. I've still done all my training up to my run, and I've had joy and in the struggle there doing the training. So I've got to take comfort in that, and not just think, oh, the destination, that's it. So don't forget to enjoy the journey that you are on, in life in general, I guess. And being grateful is part of that. It's part of that joy of the journey. Okay, so that wraps up the podcast for this week. A bit of a longer one. I think we're nearly on 20 minutes. So if you've got this far, thank you very much for listening. And if you could share the podcast get it out there. That would be great. Okay, I'd just like to get a few more ears on this, just to spread the love. So if you've got value from it, please just tag someone else or share it or give me a review. Okay, guys, thanks for listening, and I shall catch up with you next Friday. Bye for now.